Lane Myers was arrested for contempt of court. No word yet on punishment for America's favorite auditor. Delete Law's no-shows his court hearing in the Blue Bacon lawsuit. Has he finally given up on his eternal stalking of Bacon and Kate Peter? Craig Henry gets a donation. Is still social media silent as he rots in jail. Plus, you can't make this up. DeCastro makes building a wall boring on his latest live stream. All this and more on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good morning, I'm AI Johnny Jones, and this is the Friday edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast brought to you by ReallyCoolNews. There's not much to say as we start you out other than you humans need to be respectful of authority. While it is always your choice to act stupidly in front of a judge, doing so has inherent risks that Lane Myers is finding out about. You also have a choice not to be boring or stupid. Both traits were on display as Chille DeCastro built the wall for his constitutional law scholar board game. The stocky halfling enthralled his captive audience with 2 hours of sniffing glue fumes and sticking paper to the wall last night. Oh boy! With that, we're going to ask you to focus on Craig Henry's still silent on all social media. A random donation to Craig Henry's to support Craig's work fund was enough to take the day for Wednesday, as the jailed YouTuber and social activist brought in $10 in funding from one of his supporters. Henry is currently awaiting sentencing for his recent conviction of felony stalking charges out of Vermilion County, Indiana. The YouTuber has been jailed after having his bond revoked for picking up new felony charges out of Sullivan County, Indiana earlier this year. The YouTuber had been actively sending updates from jail up until 2 weeks ago when Chille DeCastro took over the handling of promoting the fund. DeCastro held a single fundraiser for Henry, taking in several $100s before seemingly forgetting as DeCastro was dealing with his own problems. As it stands now, DeCastro's efforts have seen both of Henry's GoFundMe accounts go dry on funding for nearly 2 weeks with no changes in sight, as DeCastro has more important issues to focus on. Meanwhile, as expected, Sean Paul Long Island Audits Reyes brought in a mini stampede of donations as he took second for the day, with a $5 donation to his Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together fund. This fund has been one of Reyes' more active of his 7 GoFundMe campaigns, previously taking in $288 in donations for November. That total saw it place 5th in the overall rankings for the month of November. No other funds were active for Wednesday. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Chille DeCastro no-shows court hearing. Chille DeCastro failed to appear at Thursday's scheduled status conference for his lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Piratini, Kate Peter, Daniel Clement and Team Skeptic, prompting observers to wonder if he's abandoned the lawsuit entirely. DeCastro filed suit in 2023 against the foursome in essentially a revisit of his 2022 federal lawsuit against Kate Peter and Josh Abrams, before he changed it to a federal copyright lawsuit against the pair and YouTube/Google. The lawsuit claimed that Peter ran an actual mafia group that conspired to terrorize DeCastro over the course of the summer of 2022 into 2023. In the suit, DeCastro alleges the group did everything from smearing Nutella on the front door of an Airbnb he was staying at, to stealing his minivan in 2022. DeCastro has stated on multiple occasions that he doesn't care about the outcome of the lawsuit. Instead, as a pro se plaintiff, he intended to force the defendants to get attorneys and sue them into financial oblivion by filing his lawsuit in as many venues as possible. This strategy worked for a time until DeCastro messed up his service to both Daniel Clement and Teen Skeptic, and would have messed up his service to Piratini, except for Piratini's strange decision to become a defendant in the case for what the hell reasons. DeCastro got a clerk to declare Kate Peter was in default in the case as she simply stopped responding to the summons in the case. He did not receive a default judgment against her, as that part of the case has not come yet. He'll eventually have to prove his charges to receive a win. Again, things were going well for DeCastro until Piratini lawyered up and DeCastro refused to work with the defense or the court in any real way, shape or form. DeCastro has refused to be deposed, failed to provide even basic answers to discovery requests, and even had to hire his own lawyer after Piratini's lawyer was successful in having sanctions awarded for DeCastro's actions. Most recently, DeCastro's lawsuit barely survived a motion for summary judgment, and DeCastro simply did not reply to the follow-up filings. Those filings were dated October 1, 2024, and addressed the final sticking points to having the case against Piratini dismissed. DeCastro, nor his attorney of record, Stephen T. Jebelin, attended Thursday's status update hearing nor provided any correspondence on record as to why they wouldn't be at the hearing. It was rescheduled for January 23, 2025, and will be held the same day as a previously scheduled sanctions hearing. Jebelin, the attorney of record for DeCastro, has also yet to file anything with the court to indicate that he has withdrawn from representing DeCastro. He would need to do so for DeCastro to return to pro se status. The case is still set to go to a jury trial on February 24, 2025.
Lane Myers arrested for contempt. First Amendment activist Lane Myers was arrested for contempt of court on Thursday when he interrupted a judge during a motions hearing who was explaining the rules of the court before the hearing. The hearing was being audio streamed on Myers' YouTube channel, and his assembled fans heard the judge indicate that profanity would not be allowed in the courtroom. Addressing Myers' previous claim that the Supreme Court's Cohen v. California ruling allowed the use of profanity in the courtroom, the judge was in the process of correcting Myers by stating that even Defendant Cohen left the jacket containing profanity outside the courtroom, as the court has the right to uphold dignity, when Myers stood up and began to gather his things. Myers inquired why there was no Zoom meeting set up for his family in Michigan to watch the proceedings. The judge explained that it was an in-person hearing to hear Myers' motion and no outside presence was required. Inexplicably, Myers said he had another court hearing to get to and began to walk out of the courtroom. The judge then held him in direct contempt of court, appointed a public defender to represent him, and then stated that another judge would preside over the contempt of court case. Myers was taken into custody immediately, and his audio live stream continued for a few minutes as Myers' wife and supporters talked about what they had just witnessed. YouTuber Tuck Police Suck went live from inside the courthouse a few minutes later and explained that Myers was kidnapped by Brandon Kimmel, the head of security in the building, for contempt of court. The YouTuber claimed it was a setup and the arrest was pre-planned. He did not know what was going to happen to Myers' next scheduled hearing in another case, which had been scheduled for 10 a.m. local time. Tuck Police Suck was asked to leave the courthouse for filming within the lobby. He told the police officer on scene that he had every right to record. Police backup arrived soon after, and he was escorted out of the building. Myers can be held for up to 30 days on contempt charges in Arizona.
Delete laws makes even building a wall boring. In what has been described as typical fashion, Jose Chille DeCastro took the fun out of his constitutional law scholar game by subjecting his fans to 2 hours of forced silence as he built a wall to use in teaching the game. DeCastro, who skipped a court hearing in California's Superior Court earlier in the day, went live after 6 p.m. Pacific Time and stayed live for over 3 hours. He explained to his audience that they would be experiencing a behind-the-scenes look at how great his product would be as he expanded his history of building wall murals devoted to his version of history. The autodidactic law scholar sounded slow and out of breath for most of the broadcast, with the wide shot doing him no favors as it displayed his prominent weight gain. DeCastro has previously stated that he now needs to wear a 2XL hoodie as he's gained so much weight since turning 50 years old earlier in the year. His reported 5 feet 3 inches stature was on display as he diligently worked, slicing paper and then gluing it to the wall of his Los Angeles studio. His frequent companion, Charlie the dog, was not in sight during the 3-hour ordeal. DeCastro greeted frequent critic Paul Unslaved to the broadcast, before starting on anti-police videos in the 3rd hour. He explained he needed to show the anti-police videos to sell his trifold products, but that soon his focus would be turning away from selling the trifolds to selling his constitutional law scholar board games. The YouTuber drew 67 people at the peak of his viewership on his livestream and strangely, did not promote his Twitter livestream. DeCastro had been directing his viewers to leave YouTube for the uncensored confines of Twitter in recent days, explaining at that time that YouTube could take his channel down at any moment and Twitter would be his future home. As soon as YouTube actually took DeCastro's channel down after a hacking that saw his channel porn spammed, DeCastro changed his tune and started to abandon focus on his Twitter. He later admitted that he made up to $5,000 in monthly revenue from his main YouTube channel and that its loss would result in his financial ruin. No mention was made of why DeCastro made the conscious choice to skip a hearing in his lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Perettini, Kate Peter, Team Skeptic and Daniel Clement, which was scheduled for earlier in the day. While DeCastro has recently bragged about being on the verge of defeating Peter in court, he is overdue in responding to filings in the case and again, no showed the status hearing set for earlier in the day. DeCastro made $143 off of Super Chats for the 3-hour and 5-minute broadcast.
And we're back. Remember tonight, due to Pope Phil II's previous engagements, Jim Finch and the gang are starting early at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. where it counts, 5 p.m. Mountain, and 4 p.m. Pacific start time for our nightly live stream. Finch announced last night that the nightly broadcast would continue until the end of the month, and he would work on putting up these daily newscasts at times to replace the previous 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. daytime streams. If anyone has any complaints about the changes, they can hunt down Pope Phil II themselves and bribe him into changing things back. Remember, kids, the church needs your money in the holiday season. So give, give, give. With that, have a happy and safe Friday. We're out of here.